The annual Hawthorne family reunion was in full swing at my aunt's sprawling estate in the Hamptons. White tents dotted the manicured lawn, champagne flowed freely, and relatives I hadn't seen in years mingled under the July sun. I stood near the gazebo, nursing a glass of lemonade and watching my cousin's children chase each other through the garden. Well, if it isn't the starving artist herself. I didn't need to turn around to recognize that voice. Marcus, my older brother by 3 years and my polar opposite in every way that mattered to our family. "Hello, Marcus," I said, keeping my tone neutral as I faced him. He looked like success incarnate. Custom-tailored navy suit, Italian leather shoes, that Swiss watch he never stopped talking about gleaming on his wrist. "Still painting for pennies, Sophia?" He chuckled, that condescending sound I'd heard throughout my childhood. What was it last time, selling watercolors at the farmer's market? Or was it face painting at kids' parties? A small crowd had gathered, the way they always did when Marcus held court. Our cousins, a few aunts and uncles, some family friends. They loved his success stories, the investment firm he built, the sports cars, the penthouse apartment overlooking Central Park. "I'm doing fine, thanks for asking," I replied, adjusting the simple sundress I'd worn. Nothing designer, nothing flashy. Just comfortable. "Fine?" Marcus laughed louder, gesturing with his champagne flute. "Come on, Soph. You're 35 years old, living in that same cramped studio in Brooklyn, probably still eating ramen noodles for dinner. When are you going to give up this whole artist fantasy and get a real job?" Our mother appeared at his elbow, elegant in cream linen. "Marcus, be nice to your sister. Not everyone can be as successful as you." The backhanded defense stung more than Marcus's mockery. It always had. "That's why I keep telling her," Marcus continued, warming to his theme. "I even offered to get her an entry-level position at my firm. She could work her way up, make some actual money, but no, she's too proud to accept help from her big brother." "It wasn't pride," I said quietly. "I'm happy doing what I do." "Happy?" he snorted. "Happy doesn't pay rent, Sophia. Happy doesn't buy health insurance or put food on the table. Look at cousin Janet over there. She gave up that poetry nonsense and now she's a successful real estate agent. That's what adults do. They grow up." The crowd murmured agreement. I saw the familiar looks, pity mixed with superiority. Poor Sophia, chasing impossible dreams while the real adults made something of themselves. My phone buzzed in my pocket. I almost ignored it, but the caller ID showed Alina, my assistant. She knew not to call during family events unless it was urgent. "Excuse me," I said, stepping away from the group. "I need to take this." "Of course she does," Marcus Stage whispered, probably her landlord wondering where the rent is. I walked toward the rose garden before answering. "Alana, what's wrong?" "Nothing's wrong," she said, her voice breathless with excitement. "But the Whitmore Museum needs final confirmation on your donation. They want to announce it at tomorrow's gala, and the press release is ready to go. I just need your approval on the exact amount." I glanced back at the party. Marcus was still holding court, gesturing animatedly, probably telling the story of his latest acquisition. "The full amount we discussed," I said. 3.2 million. "Confirmed." "Oh, and Sophia, the Times wants to do a feature on your anonymous donations over the years. I know you prefer to keep things quiet, but they're saying it's a story about hidden philanthropists in the art world. Might be worth considering." "We'll discuss it Monday. Thanks, Alana." I ended the call and took a deep breath. The roses smelled sweet in the afternoon heat, reminding me of the botanical series that had started everything. 5 years ago, those paintings of dying roses had sold for amounts that still made me dizzy. But it was the Garden of Memory collection that had truly changed my life. 24 paintings exploring grief and renewal, inspired by our grandmother's death. Marcus had mocked those paintings too. "Who wants to look at depressing flowers all day?" he'd said when I'd shown him the first piece. Apparently, quite a few people. The collection had sold for 8 figures to private collectors around the world. Since then, I've been quietly building my fortune, painting under a pseudonym, keeping my success private. It had started as self-protection. I didn't want my family's opinions coloring my work. But over time, I'd grown to love the anonymity. It let me live simply, focus on the art, and give back without fanfare. I walked back to the party, where Marcus was now comparing vacation homes with our cousin Bradley. "There's our struggling artist," he announced as I approached. Important call? Was it a commission for a portrait of someone's dog? The group laughed. I smiled. Actually, it was about a museum donation. Oh, how sweet, Aunt Patricia cooed. Are you donating one of your paintings to a charity auction? Every little bit helps, dear. Something like that, I said, finding myself enjoying this more than I'd expected. Years of keeping quiet had built up, and suddenly I was tired of it. Marcus wasn't done. You know, Soph, I donated 50,000 to the Met last year. Got my name on a nice little plaque and everything. It's important to give back when you're successful. He paused, pretending to reconsider. Though I suppose everyone gives what they can. What's the going rate for sidewalk portraits these days? $20? Marcus, our mother chided weakly. What? I'm trying to be supportive. Tell you what, Sophia. I'll commission a painting from you. Help you out a little. What would you charge for a nice landscape for my office? Few $100s? I looked at him, really looked at him. My brother, who measured everything in dollars and status. Who'd never understood why I'd rather spend hours lost in color and light than in boardrooms and spreadsheets. Who'd been mocking my choices since I picked up my first paintbrush at age 7. I don't really do commissions anymore, I said. Too good for your own family now. He shook his head. This is what I'm talking about. No business sense. You're an artist, Sophia. You should be grateful for any paying work. My phone rang again. Elena. I frowned. She never called twice unless it was critical. I'm sorry, I said, not sorry at all. I need to take this. Unbelievable, Marcus muttered. This is why you'll never be successful. No sense of priorities. I answered as I walked away. Elena. I'm so sorry to call again, but there's been a development. The museum board wants to know if you consider increasing the donation to $4 million. They have a matching donor who's willing to go up to 4 if you do. It would make this the largest private donation in the museum's history. I stopped walking. $8 million total for the new contemporary wing. It would be magnificent. Also, Elena continued, Claire from the studio called. The Rothschild collection wants to acquire Metamorphosis IV. They're offering $2.8 million. My hand tightened on the phone. Metamorphosis IV was one of my favorites. A massive abstract piece that had taken 6 months to complete. But the Rothschilds had one of the best private collections in the world. My work would be in good company. Tell the museum yes to $4 million and accept the Rothschild offer, but I want visitation rights written into the contract. Of course. Oh, and Sophia, your accountant wanted me to remind you about the foundation meeting next week. You're reviewing grant applications for emerging artists. The fund is up to $12 million now. $12 million. I remembered being a struggling artist myself, eating cereal for dinner, rationing canvas and paint. The foundation was my way of making sure other artists didn't have to choose between their art and their next meal. Thanks, Elena. No more calls today unless something's actually on fire. Understood. Enjoy your family reunion. I almost laughed at that. When I returned to the group, Marcus was in the middle of another story about his business prowess. So I told them, take the offer or leave it. In this economy, you have to be ruthless. Everything okay? Mom asked, noting my expression. Fine, I said. Just some museum business. Marcus perked up. Museum business? Don't tell me you're still trying to get your little paintings into galleries. Sophia, when are you going to accept that not everyone can make it as an artist? There's no shame in having a regular job. She's always been stubborn. Uncle Robert chimed in. Remember when she turned down that scholarship to business school? Could have had a real career. I have a real career, I said quietly. Sure you do, Marcus said, his voice dripping condescension. Tell me, what's your annual income from this real career? Because last I heard, you were still living in that rat-infested studio, probably surviving on generic groceries and the kindness of strangers. The group tittered uncomfortably. Some looked away, embarrassed by his cruelty. Others watched with the fascination of people viewing a car wreck. You want to know about my career? I heard myself saying, fine, let's talk about it. Oh, this should be good, Marcus said, settling back with his champagne. Please enlighten us about the glamorous life of a struggling artist. I'm not struggling, I said simply. I haven't been for years. Right, that's why you show up to these things in clothes from Target. I like Target, I said. I also like living quietly, Not everyone needs to broadcast their success, Marcus. He laughed. Success? What success? Selling a painting here and there to tourists. I pulled out my phone and showed him a photo. See this painting? It sold last month for $1.2 million. The laughter died. Marcus leaned forward, squinting at the screen. That's one of your weird flower things. It's from my Solitude series. The buyer was a collector from Hong Kong. He owns 6 of my pieces now. That's impossible, Marcus sputtered. You live in a studio apartment. You shop at thrift stores. I live in a studio by choice. It has the best light for painting. As for the thrift stores, I like the hunt. Found a genuine Balenciaga jacket for $12 last month. But Aunt Patricia looked confused. If you're selling paintings for millions, why don't you live like it? Because I don't paint for the money. I never have. The money is just a byproduct of doing what I love. Marcus recovered quickly. One lucky sale doesn't make a career. Any hack can fool a rich collector once. It wasn't one sale, I said calmly. Last year alone, I sold 43 original pieces. My lowest sale was $90,000. My highest was $3.7 million. You're lying. His face had gone red. This is pathetic, Sophia. Making up stories to impress people. I don't need to impress anyone. But since you brought up donations earlier, yes, I was confirming a museum donation. $4 million to the Whitmore Museum for their new contemporary wing. Dead silence. Someone dropped a fork on a plate, the clatter absurdly loud. 4 million? Mom whispered. They're naming it the Hawthorne wing, I added. I thought Grandma would have liked that. She always loved the Whitmore. But how? Marcus's voice cracked. I paint under the name Southeast Thorn, I said. Have been for 5 years now. Turns out people really like my weird flower things and depressing abstracts. Recognition dawned on several faces. Southeast Thorn was not a household name, but in certain circles, collectors, museum curators, art investors, it was gold. You're Southeast Thorn. Cousin Janet gasped. I tried to buy one of your paintings last year. The gallery said there was a 2-year waiting list. 3 years now, I corrected. My studio manager handles all that. I just paint. Marcus stood abruptly, his champagne sloshing. This is ridiculous. If you're so successful, why the act? Why pretend to be poor? I never pretended to be poor. You all just assumed. I said I was fine, that I was happy. You're the ones who equated that with failure. But you could have told us. Why? So you could do what you're doing now, make it about money instead of art? I've listened to you mock my work for 20 years, Marcus. You called my paintings worthless, my dreams stupid, my life a failure. Why would I share my success with someone who only respects bank balances? He opened his mouth, closed it, opened it again. For once, my brother had no words. The foundation I run, I continued, gives grants to emerging artists. We've funded over 200 artists in the last 3 years. Some of them come from backgrounds like ours. Families who think art is a waste of time unless it makes you rich. I wanted them to know someone believes in their work, regardless of its commercial value. How much? Uncle Robert asked faintly. How much is the foundation worth? 12 million and growing. We add to it every year. Every year. Mom looked dazed. Sophia, what do you actually make? I sighed. This was why I'd kept it quiet. Last year, after taxes and donations, about 18 million. Marcus sat down hard on a garden chair. His perfect suit was wrinkled now, his composed facade cracked. 18 million, he repeated. In 1 year. It was a good year, I admitted. The retrospective at the Venice Biennale helped, and the piece that sold to the National Gallery. The National Gallery bought your work. Aunt Patricia's voice rose to a squeak. 2 pieces, actually. They're part of the permanent collection now. I looked around at their faces, shocked, disbelieving, some calculating, others ashamed. These people who'd pitied me, who'd whispered about poor Sophia and her failed dreams. You know what the funny thing is? I said, none of this. The money, the recognition, the success you all respect so much. None of it matters as much as the moment I finish a painting I'm proud of. That feeling when the last brushstroke completes something I've been seeing in my mind for months. That's the real success. Everything else is just noise. Marcus found his voice again. You let me mock you. For years, you let me think you were a failure. I let you show me who you are, I corrected. Someone who only values others based on their net worth. Do you know why I never took that job at your firm? Because I saw how it changed you. You used to love music, remember? Played guitar in college. When's the last time you picked it up? He flinched as if I'd slapped him. Success isn't just about money, Marcus. It's about being able to look in the mirror and like who you see. It's about going to bed excited for tomorrow because you get to do what you love again. Can you say that about your life? The party had gone completely silent. Even the children had stopped playing, sensing the adult tension. Elena called one more time. I almost didn't answer, but she knew the rules. What is it? I said, not bothering to walk away this time. The Times. They're not taking no for an answer. They want to do a profile on you for the Sunday magazine. Cover story. They know about the donations, the foundation, everything. They're calling you the invisible philanthropist. I considered it. 5 years of anonymity had been peaceful, but maybe it was time. Set up the interview, I said. But I want approval on the final piece. Already negotiated that. Also, the studio in Paris called. They're ready whenever you are for the residency. Thanks, Elena. We'll talk Monday. I hung up to find everyone staring at me. Paris? Mom said weakly. 6-month residency at the Cité des Arts. I've been putting it off, but I think it's time. 6 months in Paris, Marcus muttered. Of course you're going to Paris. I looked at my brother, really looked at him. Beneath the anger and shock, I saw something else. Loss, regret. Maybe even a flicker of the boy who used to play guitar for me while I painted. You could come visit, I offered. Bring your guitar. He blinked rapidly, looking away. I sold it years ago. I know, I said softly. I bought it. It's in my studio. I keep thinking someday you'll want it back. That broke something in him. His shoulders sagged, the fight going out of him like air from a punctured balloon. I don't even remember how to play, he admitted. That's the thing about art, I said. It waits for you. It's always there when you're ready to come back. The reunion continued, but the dynamic had shifted completely. People approach me differently now, some with newfound respect, others with barely disguised greed, a few with what might have been genuine interest in my work. I left early, tired of the questions and calculations. As I walked to my beat-up Honda Civic, another thing that had apparently convinced them of my poverty. Marcus caught up with me. Sophia, wait. I turned. He looked smaller somehow, diminished. I'm sorry, he said, for all of it. The mockery, the condescension. I think I was jealous. Of what? You're the successful one, remember? He laughed bitterly. Successful? I work 80-hour weeks doing something I hate, to buy things I don't need, to impress people I don't like. You're right, I haven't played music in years. I don't even listen to it anymore. Too busy with spreadsheets and conference calls. It's not too late, I said. Isn't it? I'm 38 years old. I've built my entire life around something that makes me miserable. I was 30 when I sold my first real painting, 32 when I could finally support myself with art. It's never too late to choose happiness, Marcus. He stood there in his expensive suit, looking lost. Would you really let me visit in Paris? Bring the guitar, I said. We'll see what you remember. I drove away, leaving him standing in the driveway of our aunt's mansion. In my rearview mirror, I saw him pull out his phone, probably already looking up guitars online. Back in my studio apartment, and yes, it really was just a studio, though a nice one with perfect north light, I stood before my latest work in progress. A massive canvas dominated one wall, awash in blues and grays with hints of gold breaking through like dawn after a storm. The foundation reviews could wait. The Times interview could wait. Even Paris could wait. Right now, there was just me, the canvas, and the familiar weight of a brush in my hand. Everything else, the money, the fame, the family drama, faded away. This was success. This moment, this feeling, this perfect silence broken only by the whisper of brush on canvas. My phone buzzed with texts. Marcus asking about guitars. Mom apologizing for years of subtle dismissal. Cousins suddenly interested in my art. I turned the phone off and picked up my palette. Tomorrow, I'd deal with the complications that came with revealed success. Tonight, I had a painting to finish. And despite everything, or maybe because of it, I smiled. Marcus had been right about one thing. I was still painting for pennies. It just turned out that each penny was worth a lot more than he'd thought.